Well, Jerome Powell took to the stage yesterday, held rates, and unleashed the fury.
Your options. Your zero DTE calls. The economy. Inflation. Your soft landing. I am sick of this shit. Wall Street. You all. I'm out.
More from Powell in a minute, but Trump definitely not happy. Oh, and look at that. He wrote a strongly worded letter. Whatever will Jerome do? Well, Jerome in his actual statement lied, and markets know it. Just yesterday alone, gold added the entire market cap of Bitcoin. 1.75 trillion added in a single day. Meanwhile, Bitcoin trapped in purgatory. So what the hell is going on? Because this sort of whatever happens typically before like riots in the streets or major conflict and war. The Weimar vibes are intensifying. This is the prequel to the sequel of something. What does it all mean for Bitcoin? Well, it means the fastest horse in the race is about to be let out of its cage, and when it does, it's gonna be insane. Bitcoin is always very gradually dumpy before suddenly and pumpy. We're breaking it all down. The Fed, the absolute insanity of what just happened, and why Bitcoin could be ripping everyone's faces off very soon. Oh yeah, we got a lot to get to today.
While job gains have remained low, the unemployment rate has shown some signs of stabilization, and inflation remains somewhat elevated. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy rate unchanged. Having lowered our policy rate by 75 basis points over the course of our previous 3 meetings, we see the current stance of monetary policy as appropriate to promote progress toward both our maximum employment and 2% inflation goals. The point of independence is not to protect policymakers or anything like that. It just is that every advanced economy democracy in the world has come around to this common practice. It's just an institutional arrangement that has served the people well, and that is to have a separation between to not have direct elected official control over the setting of monetary policy.
Well, there's those words again, democracy and independence. Why don't we start today by discussing the idiocy and lie in both? You see, here's what Socrates had to say about democracy more than 2,000 years ago. And you tell me he didn't absolutely nail it. He said that democracy must fail because it'll try to tailor to everyone. The poor will want the wealth of the rich, and democracy will give it to them. Young people will want to be respected as elderly, and democracy will give it to them. Women will want to be like men, and democracy will give it to them. Foreigners will want the rights of the natives, and democracy will give it to them. Thieves and fraudsters will want important government functions, and democracy will give it to them. And at that time, when thieves and fraudsters finally democratically take authority because criminals and evildoers want power, there will be worse dictatorship than in the time of any monarchy or oligarchy. I don't know, but I think Socrates nailed it. He basically took the entire dictator's handbook and put that in a paragraph. Democracy is a scam. And independence? Politically working against the elected administration's agenda is the complete opposite of independence. And it makes you political, not apolitical. I mean, the truth is, they've never been independent, and they're basically a foreign agent.
The Fed has never been independent. You got a $38 trillion indebted, drunken country that is addicted to spending money. And you think the people that set interest rates is independent? I mean, like, be a serious person. Are we able to pay back what we've borrowed based on the growth we're producing today? When you have a number that's over 120%, the answer to that is overwhelmingly no. We have zero chance at paying back and making whole on the $38+ trillion worth of debt we've accumulated. And by the way, the cost of interest on our $38 trillion Well, it is over 100% of our receipts, of our revenue. So when you have debt to GDP at over 120%, and when your interest expense alone, guys, not our defense budget, not our Social Security budget, not Health and Human Services, just the interest on our $38 trillion of debt, we cannot pay with receipts. So understand this. The Federal Reserve, in setting interest rates, defines U.S. economic policy, U.S. foreign policy, the U.S.'s ability to defend itself. So mathematically, the Fed is the furthest thing from independent because these degenerate politicians have run the Great West and the United States of America into the fucking debt-ridden ground. The Fed has never been independent, and they're not independent. Now we have to admit it. Does it mean what Trump is doing is good? No, I didn't say that. But you want the truth? Mathematically, the Fed can't be independent.
What's that you said about independence again, J. Powell? Why haven't you been audited? What are you guys hiding over there?
For every dollar that Federal Reserve employees donated in the 2020 election, 97 cents went to Democratic candidates and causes. For every one Republican who works at the Fed, there are 10 Democrats who work at the Fed. Jerome Powell, for now the 5th straight meeting, has refused to lower interest rates. Now, make no mistake, this was the same man that right before the election, 47 days before the 2024 election, cut rates by the largest amount in over 4 years. He cut rates then, but will not cut rates now, even though President Trump has gotten inflation back below 2%. Now, why does it matter that Jerome Powell is not lowering interest rates? Why does that matter to each and every one of us? Well, because if your interest rates are high, your mortgage rates are high. If your mortgage rates are high, you can't afford a home. If you can't afford a home, young couples, a man who has found a God-fearing woman in his life cannot marry that woman, cannot start a family, cannot grow a family for the very simple reason that they cannot buy a home. And the reason goes down to the Federal Reserve's own mandate, their refusal to do the right thing, to look at the economic data in front of them.
I like that fishback guy. Way better than that dude in high heels that attacked American free speech on behalf of a foreign government. But moving on, back to the matter at hand. Here's the insanity of what just took place in markets. And to me, it says everybody knows. The Fed isn't independent, and trust globally in the entire financial system is breaking. It's falling apart, and it's doing so rapidly.
While in the top phase, most of these strengths are sustained, embedded within the fruits of their success are the seeds of their decline. As a rule, as people in these rich and powerful countries earn more, that makes them more expensive and less competitive relative to people in other countries who are willing to work for less. At the same time, people in other countries naturally copy the methods and technologies of the leading power, which further reduces the leading power's competitiveness. For example, British shipbuilders had less expensive workers than Dutch shipbuilders. So they hired Dutch designers to design better ships that were built by less expensive British workers, making them more competitive, which led the British to rise and the Dutch to decline. Also, as people become richer, they tend not to work as hard. They enjoy more leisure, pursue the finer and less productive things in life, and at the extreme become decadent. Values change from generation to generation during the rise to the top, from those who had to fight to achieve wealth and power to those who inherited it. They're less battle-hardened, steeped in luxuries, and accustomed to the easy life, which makes them more vulnerable to challenges. The golden era of the Dutch Empire and the Victorian era of the British Empire were such high prosperity periods like this. As people get used to doing well, they increasingly bet on the good times continuing and borrow money to do that, which grows into financial bubbles. Naturally, the financial gains come unevenly, so the wealth gap grows. Wealth gaps are self-reinforcing because rich people use their greater resources to reinforce their powers. For example, they give greater privileges to their children, like better education, and they influence the political system to their advantage. This causes the gaps in values, politics, and opportunities to grow between the rich haves and the poor have-nots. Those who are less well off feel the system is unfair, so resentments grow. But as long as the living standards of most people are still rising, these gaps and resentments don't boil over into conflict. Having the world's reserve currency inevitably leads to borrowing excessively and contributes to the country building up large debts with foreign lenders. While this boosts spending power over the short term, it weakens the country's financial health and weakens the currency over the long term. In other words, when borrowing and spending are strong, the empire appears very strong, but its finances are in fact being weakened. The borrowing sustains the country's power beyond its fundamentals by financing both domestic overconsumption and international military conflicts required to maintain the empire.
What's happening right now should be statistically impossible in one single week. We've seen 3 separate Six Sigma events: bond, silver, gold. A Six Sigma move is supposed to happen once in like 500 million observations. That's how rare this is. Now watch this. Last week, Japanese 30-year bonds printed a Six Sigma session. Historic on its own. Days later, silver went 5 Sigma on its rally, then 6 Sigma on the drop in the same session. And now gold is up 23% in under a month, pushing toward its own Six Sigma move. That's 3 in 1 week. That has never happened. Never. And here's the key point. Six Sigma events don't come from headlines. They come from structural stress, leverage, margin calls, collateral breaks, forced selling and forced buying. When stress starts in Japanese bonds, one of the core pillars of global finance, it spreads. Leverage contracts. Some assets get liquidated, others get bought as protection. Historically, that protection is gold and silver. When bonds and precious metals break out at the same time, it's not noise, it's a monetary regime cracking. This is how paradigm shifts begin, and the moves that follow are violent. So pay attention. Bitcoin does a lot more with a lot less, and it appears we're on the cusp of Bitcoin going ballistic. We're about to bring it home today, but before we do, look at our likes.
3 or 4 times, maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Let's take a moment to recognize our sponsors powering this show over at the Bitcoin Way. At the Bitcoin Way, they'll walk you through all things Bitcoin, like it's kindergarten with Satoshi. From setting up your first wallet to running your first node and so much more. No tech skills needed. The Bitcoin Way has got you covered. You want $1 million Bitcoin? Better act like it. Self-custody is not optional. That is the revolution. Schedule a free 30-minute consultation with the Bitcoin Way today using that link in the show notes. Today's show is brought to you by Ledn. If you ever need cash without selling your Bitcoin, Ledn makes that possible. The global leader in Bitcoin-backed lending, Ledn has issued over $9 billion in loans since 2018, and they have a perfect record of protecting client assets. No credit checks, funds in less than 6 hours, no monthly payments, repay whenever you want with 0 penalties, and proof of reserves reports, verified by a top accounting firm, are published every 6 months. Ledn gives Bitcoin holders a secure, transparent way to unlock liquidity without selling. Learn more at learn.ledn.io/simply. That's learn.ledn.io/simply.
So the money that's coming in here, Robin, one, it's larger than all the money in the first 13 years of Bitcoin's history. All the money that flowed into Bitcoin's history has been massively surpassed in volume terms and quality. I would actually build the case. It's better quality money. No offense to the old guys, but to the OGs, but it is better quality, has deeper roots. It doesn't get liquidated as easily, and it's extremely well thought out. And that's, I think, what we're seeing here. We're seeing a slow movement of diversification away from other assets and into Bitcoin, and/or we're seeing fresh money move into Bitcoin that is coming out of those distribution models of bonds, real estates, private equity sales. And there's a lot of really good reasons why we have suffered on price here in the last 6 months. Very logical reasons. Most of those, I think, were tax driven. And they all came through the SBRs, and everybody tried to get clever on the SBRs, and they fucked up the Bitcoin position. So dude, I'm as bullish as I was. When was the first time I was on your show? 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I'm probably more bullish today than I was. And I've raised my goal of how much Bitcoin I want to obtain. And by the way, I am absolutely shocked that I'm still able to buy it at 5 digits.
You're not the only one, Cardone. Again, we are in the middle of the biggest opportunity in arbitrage of the century. We are approaching Tordemeester's last support line at 14 ounces of gold. At the same time, Bitcoin is nearing the end of its typical bear market against gold. And at the same time, Bitcoin versus gold just reached its head and shoulders target of 16 right as the bear market reaches its typical 14-month duration. Soon might be right. Now here's something I found, something that could recalibrate your thinking. Bitcoin has never hit a true cycle peak while ISM PMI is below 50. There are no edge cases, no footnotes. It simply hasn't happened. And yet, this entire move we're in right now has taken place under that line. That tells you we're in a setup phase. PMI below 50 is when the economy slows, pressure builds, and liquidity quietly re-enters the system. It's when positioning happens, not exits. This is the zone people consistently misunderstand. They confuse boredom with danger. They mistake consolidation for a top. Then conditions shift, momentum returns, and Bitcoin does what it always does. And suddenly everyone claims they saw it coming. So no, this isn't the end. It's the part right before the story changes. Book market will come back to this when the price is higher and the bears have been slaughtered. And the possibility of World War III is higher than ever, which is probably a good time to visit our new sponsor, Sat123. Because when cell service dies, life doesn't have to. Sat123 hooks you up with real satellite phones, Starlink kits, and rugged off-grid internet that works anywhere. Mountains, ocean, middle of nowhere, it doesn't matter. If you care about preparedness, freedom, and staying connected when it actually counts, go to sat123.com. That's sat123.com, and don't forget to use promo code SIMPLY for 15% off. No signal? No problem. What do you guys think? Let us know down below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a pamp by sharing the Sound Money Gospel. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Stay tuned. We got a lot of great stuff coming your way. Set those notifications for the best in Bitcoin news delivered to you daily, and I'll catch you all next time. Love you guys. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.